Is back here with another YouTube video, and in case you cannot tell by the title below, this one will be a video where I share my thoughts and opinions on if WrestleMania is really worth going to. Before I share my thoughts and opinions, would love to know what yours are on if WrestleMania has or is really worth it, whether it's WrestleMania itself, WrestleMania weekend, or WrestleMania week. Yeah, some people do a week for WrestleMania. Would love to know what your thoughts and opinions on it, no matter what your experience is, whether you have a bunch of experience or like myself and have no experience attending a WrestleMania. So my viewpoint might be a little bit different. My viewpoint partly because of how long I've been a fan, never going to WrestleMania, and kind of who I am, most importantly, as a human. I've never been to WrestleMania. All of them, while I've been a fan, have been in the United States, and I don't live in the US. So I don't want to say it's harder, but it's just more steps for myself to go to the US, passport, Canadian to American money, that kind of stuff that Americans usually don't really think about. Kind of deal when it comes to traveling within the US, kind of deal. But for myself personally, last time I genuinely looked into attending a WrestleMania was WrestleMania 28. Looked into travel packages, airfare, hotel, passport, all of that stuff. Talked to a couple of people who, granted, I don't think they ever went to Miami in particular, but they've been to Florida, traveled the US quite a bit. And I was 17, 18 years old, like 17 when the travel packages came out, so I would have got somebody else to technically buy it for me and then just pay them back and whatnot. But yeah, and that was a bunch of years ago now, like 12, 13. But for myself personally, as I got older, the less interested I am in going to WrestleMania in particular. No offense to people who make it their yearly trip. Good for you. That's your thing. Amazing. Maybe not necessarily my thing, but each to their own. But as I got older, the WrestleMania itself, my interest, like I said, have been going down, but my interest in WrestleMania weekend/week has kind of went up. And what I mean by that is, when I say nowadays, I would say really from WrestleMania 30 onwards, with the exception of 2020 and 2021, there's been other stuff to do in regards to WrestleMania week. SmackDown, Raw, SmackDown before/after, depending on when they tape, Raw after WrestleMania, arguably Hall of Fame, Access, WrestleCon, independent events. And for myself personally, I would much rather go to a bunch of independent events, meet a bunch of wrestlers that way for what could end up being the roughly same price tag after everything is said and done for one WrestleMania, let alone two nights. Because if you're going to one, might as well go to the second, kind of deal. And for myself personally, it is one of those things where even if I was, when I say travel for WrestleMania, I mean, if I was an American living in the United States and it being in Vegas for WrestleMania 2025/WrestleMania 41, I don't know for sure if I would go to Vegas for WrestleMania, because outside of a Golden Knights game, there's nothing there that really offers something that I would want to do. And what I mean by that is, if I go on a wrestling related trip, whether it was Survivor Series 2016 or SummerSlam 2019, granted both of them have been in Toronto, but I would kind of want to do non-wrestling stuff that weekend as well. And like I said, Vegas, for myself personally, outside of a Golden Knights game, offers me nothing that I can't do in Ontario, kind of deal. I don't drink, I very rarely gamble, and if I do gamble, there's a casino not too far away from me, where I grew up, kind of deal. So for myself personally, Vegas, outside of, again, attending a Vegas Golden Knights NHL team home game, there's nothing for me really to do to make it a trip that just so happens to involve wrestling. And even for the wrestling stuff, there's like independent wrestling events other than Vegas that I would much rather do, kind of deal, whether they're within Canada or not. Like, I would love to travel to see a C4 event in Ottawa, Ontario. That's not too far of a drive. Or Mystery Wrestling. Again, that's in Gatineau. Again, a little bit farther away than Ottawa, but not too much. But when it comes to WrestleMania, is it really worth going to? For myself personally, I would say WrestleMania itself, no, because I know that, like, for my personality, I don't know if I said this publicly, but back in 2000 and I think 10, maybe it was late 09, but I was like 15, 16 years old. A part of a school field trip, I was able to have a mini tour of Skydome, Rogers Center, able to walk out on a field before a Toronto Argonauts game. Back then, and got on a little bit of the field, was in the touchdown part of the field, and I remember looking around and like feeling overwhelmed by the space, and that's with nobody in the stands. I can't imagine for myself personally being able to go to a stadium show, whether it's for wrestling or otherwise, being able to sit back and fully relax. And again, that's my own personality. I know that within myself. And like I said, it's kind of getting, I don't want to say expensive because I don't know like the prices. I know that they go on sale today, but I already knew I was not going, so I didn't look at it. But I assume that it's going to be a pretty penny, and converting that from American to Canadian money, that much more. I would much rather, again, go to the independent shows, hypothetically, during WrestleMania weekend. Don't get me wrong, I would still be cool to attend a Raw after Mania. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to deny that. But going to WrestleMania itself, and it's one of those like front row or no go. And I think it was last year, it was $10,000 for a front row American for a front row ticket for Philly. I don't know if that's resale or not. And that's not worth it for myself personally, and all of that stuff. But yeah, is it worth it? WrestleMania itself, I would say for myself personally, no. WrestleMania weekend, yeah, I could argue that. Again, I never experienced a WrestleMania weekend, so I don't know for sure if it's worth it. But I get the appeal of doing a WrestleMania weekend. I just don't right now, at this point in my life, don't really get the appeal of going to WrestleMania itself. I know that I'll have more fun watching it either, depending on how life works out, at my place or at a friend's place, kind of deal, for, again, myself personally, than it would be hypothetically watching it in person. But yeah, those are my thoughts and opinions. Would love to know what yours are down in the comments below. While you are down there, if you like this kind of content, feel free to hit the like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Don't have to if you don't want to, but it would genuinely mean a lot to myself if you did. More importantly, treat yourself well mentally, emotionally, and physically.